Today on the WEInvested podcast, we have Shane Walker, the co-founder and executive VP of Qube Money. And Qube Money is the world's first banking system that controls spending, eliminates debt, and creates a healthy financial environment just by using the app. Qube Money has also been selected as the #1 budgeting app by Real Simple's 2021 Smart Money Awards. Shane, how are you doing today?
Great, Wesley. Thanks for the opportunity to be here with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a really big moment for the podcast, and I just appreciate you for being here with us.
Well, it's an honor to be here, and man, it's good people like you that help us get the message out so we can bless millions of lives. So I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so, in this interview, I know you've done several of them, but I just wanted to kind of start from the top and from the very beginning. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in a little town in Idaho called Weiser. I'm the ninth of 12 children. My dad was a teacher. My mom a stay-at-home mom, and we worked on the farms near our place. Honestly, me and my older brothers worked all through the summer and gave our money to my mom and dad so that we could get by, really. And I really learned that, no matter how much money you make, you can make it work if you're willing to sacrifice and you put priority on the most important things and then don't worry about the others. And the truth is, Wesley, we were happy, like happy. There was a lot of love in our home. There was always food on the table. There was a roof over our heads. There was 12 people in a 4-bedroom house, 1 bathroom. I honestly remember walking out in the snow and going to the bathroom behind a tree because my sisters were in the bathroom. But it was, it was okay because like I said, there was a lot of love in our home, and we learned to work hard and play hard and love each other. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. 1000%. So, you talked about growing up and working on the farm. So, you're no stranger to putting in that hard work. So, how do you think that your childhood kind of impacted your outlook on the world and success as a whole?
That's a great question. Like I said, I'm the ninth of 12 children, and I'm one of 8 boys. And it's truly incredible, Wesley, because every one of my brothers are millionaires, except for my youngest, who is on his way there. He just started his own business in the building industry. And I wonder, often thought, why have we been so blessed? Why has it been? Yeah, why have we been so blessed? And honestly, it's because of the entrepreneurial spirit that was put within us. But in addition to that, my dad taught us, like I remember as a 7-year-old waking up at 5:36 in the morning to go out and hoe beets and hoe onions for my uncle. And I was so little, I'd just run through the field, and me and my cousin would find the biggest weeds and think we were tough by pulling out the weeds, you know what I mean? But we learned how to work. And then my dad also taught us how important people were, that we were all children of God. We were important. And he showed us how to love people, and he showed us how to communicate. And I think that those 3 things are a recipe for success. Do the right thing, really care about people, and then learning how to work hard. And so that set the stage for me, at least, to be successful. And I'll be honest, it is a growing company, and we face a lot of challenges even today. But it's faith in God and a willingness to go to work every day and putting your customers first, really trying to create something that will be transformational in their lives, make a real impact, that is really given us, the edge, I believe. And people love the mission to help millions of families break the paycheck to paycheck cycle, eliminate debt, enjoy more freedom, peace, impact with money. So anyways, yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, sir. And it definitely does. And, just you putting that emphasis on people and love and helping, that really speaks to the mission of Qube Money, which, leads me to my next question. What is Qube Money?
Well, Qube Money is the first banking system in the world that digitizes cash envelopes. So, by far the most successful budgeting platform ever invented is cash envelopes. This idea of being able to put your budget and your money in one. So you're not budgeting. Excuse me, man. I need to silence that. Just a second here. But yeah, so instead of having your budget here and your money here, and always having to reconcile the two, which people aren't real good at. And so it feels more like a judge over your shoulder saying, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that, right? It's like eating the donut and then tracking the calories. Well, you already ate the donut, right? Right. And so then it just makes you feel bad. But when your budget and your money are together, then you see in real time the limits and the possibilities, and you spend in line with who you are, with your purpose. And then money becomes a joy and a fulfillment. So Qube Money digitizes that method of spending, but yet it's a bank. So it provides payday 2 days early, and Roundup technology is coming, Roundup investing, and high yield savings is coming, but joint accounts and all of those things that make money, like all our favorite apps, all together so that we can manage our money, but get it to behave, get it to do what we want to do so we can achieve our goals and our dreams. So that's really what Qube Money is. It's the best budgeting tool in the world because it's budgeting and banking together.
Yes, sir. And it's remarkable. And, you guys at Qube are doing some amazing things for, millions of people, like we stated earlier. But, what are some of the problems or concerns that you hope to rehabilitate through the Qube Money app?
So the credit card card payment systems were invented in about 1950, in the early 1950s. And Wesley, if you look at what's happened to the consumer debt balance since the invention of credit cards, it's just gone like this. And today we're facing a $14.3 trillion consumer debt balance. Last quarter, Wall Street Journal posted that credit card debt increased by $17 billion in the heat of COVID-19. And money is the number one cause of stress in America. It's like we all deal with it every day. And if it's causing stress in your life, which it is in most people's, that results in divorce, domestic violence, child abuse, suicide. It's one of the leading causes of all of those things, as well as distraction at work. It's costing companies trillions of dollars because employees are worried about their personal finances while they're at work. And so really our goal, our passion is to save marriages, to create more joy within couples, and then they're equipped to be good parents who can love and give their children an environment to really thrive. And we believe that if you get your money to work correctly, and obviously I believe God is the center as well. A belief in Him creates joy and happiness. But then if you get your money right, it's amazing how many other things get right in our lives.
Yes, sir. And I agree with that 1000%. And I think, what you guys, are doing is just incredible for people to, really become aware of their spending and how they're using their funds and how they could save and just, giving them the ability to get ahead of their finances and stop living paycheck to paycheck. And it's also just bringing awareness to the importance of budgeting and saving and, understanding where your money is going each month. Especially today, I guess it's kind of taboo to talk about money and what you save, but just bringing awareness to this situation, is just helping, countless people.
Absolutely. Let me share one other thing. Everything in our lives that we have intention for, if we have intention for our health, we're conscious about what we eat, We're conscious about getting exercise, you know what I mean, and moving. It's a good thing. I mean, it's the right thing, right? It's the way you create longevity and you know, better feeling, self-image, and all those things. And if you want your marriage to be good, it takes intention, doesn't it? It takes effort. If you don't pay any attention to your marriage, it's not so good, right? And the same thing with raising our children. Yet the funny thing is, with our money, people are like, nah, I don't want to budget. I don't want to have intention. And, you know, we live in a world where it's swipe and go. And we kind of have this, I mean, there's this, I don't know what the word is, but we're obsessed with everything being faster and easier. And it's the same thing with spending. We want it to be faster and easier with the tap on our phone, man. Now we can buy stuff and we don't even have to tap our phone. We just click and go because our cards are saved in all of our apps online and stuff like that. Well, faster and easier means human nature, we spend more. And it's so easy to just spend yourself to financial ruin. It really is in our world. And it's, you know, budgeting and tracking is honestly hard. I'm not good at it. I've tried it a dozen times in my marriage. My wife and I were like, oh man, we should be budgeting. We're financial advisors. We should be budgeting. And we would do good at first. But man, within a month, I was like, man, I got other things to do with my time, and I would fall off. And then we'd just look at our, you know, our expenses once a week, and then it would go to twice a month, and then it would go to, and then I was like, it doesn't even do anything for me. So I'd quit. And Qube Money has been the first tool in our lives where we can do it. We're doing it. We're doing what we should be doing. And, you know, in 1 year, we saved $30,000. Anyways, go ahead. I talk too much, but yeah.
No, that's amazing. And I think that's something that the people like need to hear about and understand, because like you said, budgeting isn't something that's easy. It may not come natural to most people. So, you know, being intentional about it and putting effort towards it is what it takes in order to be successful at anything, you know, much like you mentioned. But, you know, just kind of doing my research and doing my homework, you know, I come across a few comments from investors and customers of Qube Money. And so, you know, I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts and your opinion. You know, what does it mean when you hear investors and customers make statements like, I love the mission of Qube Money. It gives individuals and families control over their finances. What does that mean to you?
It often brings tears to my eyes, man, because, you know, that's what it doesn't, things just don't happen. And we've spent years dreaming this and putting it together and partnering with Visa and Galileo and Choice Financial Group and all these huge companies to make it go to the world. And a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of hours working. And when I hear stuff like that, it's like, it's working, you know. Yes, it's working. And that makes me really happy. And I actually tried to read a page of testimonials every day, or like why they joined Qube Money or why they invested in Qube Money. And I love those stories where, like, man, we've tried and struggled to budget, and we felt like we were always like fighting about money and spending over. And for the first time in our lives, we have $500 in our account, or we have $2,000 in our account, and our account's going the right way instead of the wrong way. And it just feels so good, man. Actually, I got tingles in my back right now just talking about that, and chills, because that's the difference. That is the difference. And, you know, one of there's 3 simple principles that guide cash envelope budgeting. One is this idea of zero-based budgeting, giving every dollar a job, and that creates organization and purpose. And then the second is this idea of looking at what you have before you spend. You open the envelope, oh, yep, I got money, it's okay to buy this, right? And then the final thing is what I said before, is that your money and your budget are the same thing. So when the money's gone, it's gone. I mean, it's really gone. And you see that. And so when we created Qube Money, we knew that we had to implement those three principles, right? But then because of technology, couples can know exactly where. You don't both have to have envelopes. You got 2 phones, 2 apps, 2 cards, but one plan. And it updates in real time. And the first time I took out my card, so I allocated the funds into the Qubes. You know, I'm like, and before you spend, you actually open. You look at your phone and it opens the app, and you just tap the dollar amount in one of those Qubes, and immediately the money's on the card. Okay, and I was like, man, I wonder if this is gonna work. We worked hard on this, and I was like, I stuck it in, and I was buying gas. I stuck it in there, and as soon as I stuck it in and put it in my zip, the Qube closed in real time, and I was like, whoa, man! And it updated the balance to what was just spent, and I filled up my gas. And most gas companies take like $60. It's called pre-authorization. And as soon as I hung up the pump, it changed from $60 to the exact amount that was on the pump, which is adjusted right at my app, all real time. And I was like, whoa.
No, that's remarkable. You know, that's
Yeah.
definitely a game changer. And kind of speaking to, you know, what you said earlier, because I know with, you know, previous budgeting apps that I've used, it's not real time. It's not giving it to me right now. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So that's
Yeah,
something that the
totally.
technology that you guys are bringing to the table that's helped changing the game and push the, you know, financial industry forward.
Yeah, that's what we believe too, Wesley. That's what needs to be, because
Yes, sir.
we live in a real-time world. I can't
Right.
sit here and, wait 5 minutes for something to happen. It's got to happen now. So yeah, you're right.
Yes, sir. So, you know, how did you get started in the financial service industry? Like, what gave you that spark?
That's a great question. So I actually owned a door-to-door pest control sales company when I was in college with some friends. And we had some really good years, like in college. Making a 6-figure income was pretty incredible. But then we had some really tough years, a couple of tough years in a row, where we partnered with Orkin Pest Control. They asked us to be their sales company, and they wanted us to grow faster than we were ready. And so anyways, we tried to grow too fast. And I got my master's in accounting, and I almost worked for an accountant, and I just wasn't what I didn't love accounting. I didn't love crunching numbers. And a friend of mine said, Shane, we can like live the lives we want to, and we can help others figure out their finances. Look at this concept called IBC, which is called the infinite banking concept. And anyway, so that's how I got into it. And rough go early on. In fact, I made $2,000 in 6 months, my first 6 months of that business. We were expecting our 4th child. One of the toughest times I've ever been through. I thought we were going to lose our house and wasn't going to be able to provide for my family. But, through faith and perseverance, it worked out. So that's how I got into the financial service industry. And that got me into really understanding what people were facing from a financial standpoint, and how difficult money was.
Yes, sir. That's incredible. And one of the things that I've noticed is that you really put an emphasis on education. You take the time to teach, investors and clients and customers about, the benefits of budgeting and saving. So, why is that important to you to educate, everyone about Qube Money?
Well, guess what the 2 most blogged about topics in our world are, Wesley?
What's that?
So the first is how to with technology. Okay, so how to use this or use that. That's the number 1. Number 2 is personal finance. Yet even though that's the most blogged about, second most blogged about thing in our world, there's so much information. It's like information overload. The credit card balance in our country grew by 17 billion in 1 quarter. And what's become really clear to me is it's not about education. There's a way different thing about knowing and doing. And so we actually have implemented a whole coaching program. Every person that joins Qube Money gets connected to a coach. And they don't have to be coached, but that coach is there to help guide them in the setup process. But if they're willing, they'll hold them accountable, and they will lift them from their current habits and help transform. I'm trying to think of, where's this book? Here it is. This is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I don't know if you've ever read this, but incredible book. And he actually shares a story in here about the servicemen that were serving in Vietnam. And I can't remember the doctor's name, but he was asked to go over there and study the servicemen that were addicted to heroin. And they said that about 15% of the military was, and he went over and he found out that 20% was addicted. And heroin at the time was thought that you couldn't break it. I mean, it was so addictive that you'd be addicted for life. But the crazy thing is 9 out of 10 of those military, when they came back to the States, cold turkey, never did heroin again. And they found that a drastic change in environment was one of the most powerful tools to change a behavior. And so with Qube Money, we're telling people, you got to make a drastic change. You got to change banks. One, change banks. You got to quit spending with the card you've been spending with, and you've got to spend differently with a different system. And so what we're doing is actually a big change. And I'm telling you, you've got to change. All of us are like swipe and go. I was a huge Southwest credit card user. I was a huge Marriott Rewards credit card user. I get $7,000 a year from swiping those cards, man. I was like, man, and I didn't pay interest. You know, I'm making out big against these credit card companies. They're paying me tons of money. They're not getting any interest from me. But when I did a drastic change and moved my money from Chase to Qube and started using a different system, I was making about $500 a month in points, which is high compared, because I was spending on my business and all that stuff. But I found I was overspending by $3,000 a month. Wow. So was it worth the $500 in points to overspend by $3,000? And I realized, no way. And I'm telling you, Wesley, I'll never go back to credit cards again. Never. Now that I understand, I'm like, that's incredible. And actually, I recently read a study by MIT back in the early 2000s. MIT did this research project where the question was, how much more are people willing to spend when they use a credit card versus cash? Guess what they found? Guess how much more people spend with a credit card versus cash?
How much?
100% more. So they went out and they offered tickets to a basketball game, a college basketball game, and people were willing to spend twice as much when they used a credit card. And then they did clothing and fast food. And so people are out spending on credit cards for points. On average, people spend $2,000 a month in the United States of America, which gives them about 50 points. $50 in points, that's about 2%. Yet they're overspending by about $500 to $1,000 a month. And they don't know it.
Right. No, I mean, and that's insane. But it's just that kind of ease of use that come with the credit cards. But, you know, just kind of referring back to, you know, where you were talking about, you know, just making a change of your environment. That's something that I can attest to. That's something that I can attest to, and that I can definitely relate with, because I'm originally from North Carolina. But 4 years ago, I made a move out here to the West Coast, and that change of environment, that change of place, just really helped me to kind of kick it into a different gear and kind of, you know, work harder. So that's something that I definitely can understand and you know, just give my own personal testimony about that.
So Wesley, like, what did you change? Like, what when that happened, as a result of the move, like what things in your life changed, just like pretty much overnight?
Yeah, pretty much overnight. I just, realized the importance of saving money. And I moved from a small town in North Carolina to Las Vegas. So I kind of got to see real money, if that makes sense. And it made me want to figure out, how do I get that how can I get that for myself? So I feel like it put more of a fire in me once I changed my environment, and it put more hustle and more drive in me and more ambition.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes,
That's
sir.
amazing.
Yes, sir. But in a previous interview, you spoke about saving $100,000 in a safe money place. And I thought that was a very interesting concept. So, would you mind elaborating a little bit more on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually believe in a philosophy, a money philosophy called the order of wealth. And that comes down to some simple steps. First of all, you got to control spending. When spending is under control, everything else happens. So it's the foundation. And we believe that Qube Money is the best way to do that. But then once you get that under control, the first thing is you get an emergency fund in place, because there's always events in a month that, oh man, I wasn't planning on that. Man, I didn't put that in my budget. And if you don't have an emergency fund, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can't follow my budget, it's all gone. And so then you just get into this because it didn't work. But when you have an emergency fund to fall back on, you keep in line, you keep going with your plan because you plan for that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you make sure that you have the proper protections, the proper insurance in place, because also on average, someone experiences 3 disasters or 3 events in their life, whether it's a car accident, an illness, a natural disaster, an early death, or whatever, that will totally unravel a lifetime of work or a decade of work. So get the proper protections in place, and we'll help you save money on that too with our coaches, like seriously. Then the third thing is you eliminate debt, high interest rate debt, snowball it, get rid of it. And I'll tell you, this next year, we're going to release the first ever automated debt elimination system, and it does everything for you. All you have to do is fund the debt elimination cube. Our system will calculate the fastest path to debt freedom, pay all your minimum payments, and then snowball the most important debt for you. And on average, our users save $440 a month on average. If you put that into a debt elimination plan, we'll have 90% of families, households out of debt within 3 years, just from that $440. Okay, so that gets you to this state where now you don't have debt, your spending's under control. When you eliminate debt, it frees up between $1,500 and $3,000 a month on average, because now you're not paying for all those payments, right? So now it's time to stockpile $100,000. And we actually teach, there's 2 good places. There's the high yield savings, high yield, the money market accounts and so forth, where you get about 0.5% on average. It's FDIC insured, and it's accessible within 72 hours, transferred over, right? But my previous life, I've talked a little bit about IBC. It's called the infinite banking concept. And it's where you use whole life insurance, the right kind with the right companies, and you emphasize the cash value in that policy instead of the death benefit. So you put as much cash as you can, and it still be a life insurance policy. And what happens is, as you do that, it makes it very efficient. Within 4 to 5 years, you have as much money as you put towards the policy. So that now the life insurance policy, the death benefit's free. And their money is growing at 5% on average, depending on how old you are. But if 5% tax-free, you have life insurance, long-term care benefit, you have critical illness benefit, but you also have tax advantages, and it's non-volatile, and it's the oceans of money. So that's what I did from a young age, is I just began to, and that's actually how I funded a lot of my business ventures, is that money that I put in my cash value life insurance policy, and then I deploy it to grow my business, to do the things I needed. And then as the cash flow came, I'd pay it back. And I just used that policy as my own banking system. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And so we just believe that you should capitalize your life, get a fund of money, so now you can utilize that to take advantage of great opportunities. Where the world says, put part of your check in your 401k, but then you're struggling to keep make ends meet, and you don't have liquidity, and so you're building up credit cards, making payments at 20%, and you're making 5% on your 401k. That doesn't make sense. Get yourself into liquidity control of money, then deploy it to invest in that which you love, whether that's real estate, it's entrepreneurship, it's the markets, the stock market, whatever, and become an expert. Get a mentor, learn, and fall in love with making your money work for you. Become an investment mind mentality. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. And I feel like that's one of the biggest secrets that the wealthy use is to understand how to utilize their life insurance policy as their own personal bank. Like you said, to fund their investments, to fund their businesses, and to, eventually grow their wealth and build generational wealth.
Absolutely. And Wesley, one thing I'll say is if you don't have $10,000 to $12,000 in liquidity, you shouldn't start a whole life insurance policy. Like if you're not out of debt yet, you should buy term because it's low premium. But once you get out of debt and you're ready to stockpile money, that's the time. So realize it's a long-term strategy. It takes time. It's a little bit more sophisticated, and you got to be committed, right? But if you're to that level, if you're to that level of discipline, oh, it's the best thing I've done. Because then as I go to retirement, I have a fund of money growing at 5%. That when the markets are going like this, I like taking money out when the markets are high because I'm just taking off the interest. Man, if there's a correction, I don't like taking my money out when it's low because now I'm taking it out, I get way less. Well, I have this pension style fund over here that's constant comment that I can take money out while this continues to grow. And it also comes out tax free because I borrow from my policy with no intentions of paying it back to fund my retirement. And then the death benefit comes to me, pays off the loan first, then comes as my legacy plan. So there's some really powerful strategies while I'm growing my portfolio with my entrepreneurship, my real estate. But then when I go to retire, it provides that pension style, my safety net as the markets are fluctuating so that I have something to fall back on. So some really cool things that it does for me at growth, retirement, and legacy.
Yes, sir. And that's an amazing plan and an amazing strategy and path to, building that financial freedom and generational wealth that we spoke about a little earlier. But, just speaking on entrepreneurship and using this cash policy as a way to fund your business endeavors, you've been an entrepreneur for the past 15 years. So is this an interest and a skill set that you were kind of born with, or is this something that developed over time?
It developed over time. So I actually in the door-to-door pest control sales company, I had a really good mentor, Mark Conover, that had just a knack for entrepreneurship. And then I had some really good mentors in the financial service industry in my own business. And even now, I mean, our CEO, Jay Anderton, he is incredible. Already retired, had a 9-figure exit as a CEO of another company. And he's just been incredible to continue. I'm still learning. I got lots to learn. So anyways, and it's neat to be able to work with people who've had so much experience and are just good people.
Yes, sir, for sure. And kind of speaking about mentors, what would you say is the importance of having a good team, and how did you focus on building your team?
Team is everything. I mean, there's nothing incredible you can do by yourself. It takes a good team, and there's nobody good at everything. There's things that I'm really weak at, and I'm grateful for other members of the team that are good at those things. And there's other things that I'm good at, they're not so good at. You know what I mean? And so it creates that strength. How to build it? It's just always having your eyes open for A talent, because the truth is there's A players, B players, and C players. C players are a liability. B players just kind of ride with the motion, and they give you about what you pay them. A players, you can never pay them enough. They just know how to create. They know how to make things happen in their area of expertise. And it's really finding those A players and then getting them in the right seat in the bus. And when you get them in the right seat in the bus, I mean, just recently we hired a gal, and I am so fired up about her skill set, her organization and automation and writing and consistency. And she's going to change the game and some things that we need to happen in our coaching program that I'm really excited. And then we hired another just incredible forward facing, like she is really good in front of people. She's kind, she's excited, she just builds incredible relationships. And so she's a phenomenal trainer. Well, both of them are so different, but both of them are so needed, right? And it's really cool when you build something that has a huge mission, Wesley, like where you're out to change the world. It literally attracts people. And I'm just going to tell you a couple of stories that's just amazing. So we had a CPO, a chief product officer, who was kind and was very talented at designing, but not talented at really organizing and communicating with customers and really creating a product for the people. Okay. And so we knew we needed it. Well, I don't know if you know, but this year, Simple Bank closed down. It's another bank, it's another fintech bank, but they closed down. And PNC, excuse me, bought the company that owned them, and so decided that they weren't profitable. Well, one of their users started using Qube Money, came to Qube Money, and he's like, wow, this is amazing. And he reached out to us in email and said, hey, listen, I love what you guys are doing. I'd love to be a part of it. And so we're like, oh, hey, we'd love to talk to you. And we came in and he talked and he shared some really good things. And he was leading the division of a product company out in Washington, D.C. Anyways, he came in and he said, here's what I think we can do. And he put a presentation together, and it was like incredible. Anyways, we're like, oh, wow. And so it was so good, and he was providing so much value, we had to start paying him because he was doing some great work. And he worked for us for 4 months. And then he's like, listen, I can't think about my job. Everything I think about is with Qube. Like at work, I'm thinking Qube, I want to work with you guys. I want to be your chief product officer. And it was just the perfect timing. And he's come in, and Wesley, he is incredible. He's like unbelievable. So then we get rated the #1 app by Real Simple Money Awards, right? And we started to grow because of that publicity, and it started to put pressure on our database. And we were having the app was slow and things like that. Well, one of our users that had been with us for like in our MVP, he was with us, and he came back in Qube, and he called us and he said, listen, I know what's going on. My son was at the store. The app was slow. Let me just share with you what I think's happening. And he named everything that was going on. I'm like, man, how did you know that? And he goes, actually, I go out and I consult companies. If you want, I can come in and do some consulting and help you. Well, he worked with us for a week, and he said, listen, I want to do this. Like, this is going to be big. And so now he's our CTO. So anyways, it's just amazing. And same thing with all 30 of our coaches that we just hired. We sent out an email and said, hey, we're interested in hiring some coaches. We had 400 people respond to that email. Wow. And then we had over 100 people show up to the webinar introducing it. And then we had applications just flood in. And from those coaches, I hired these 2 gals that have come in and started working with us. And we've hired 3 development senior devs that are just so excited. So anyways, you get something and you start to show results, and you start to, they feel that mission and they want to be a part of something that's going to change the world. And man, Wesley, they come to you and they're the best people we have. I mean, just incredible leaders, and they believe in the mission, they believe in the product, and they're in it for the right reasons. So does that make sense? So that's how you gather that team is you do something amazing, you start to create a brand that people like and trust, and they feel that mission, and then they start coming to you. And when they come to you, you have your pick of some really amazing talents, and yeah. So anyways, it's been a miracle, and we're so grateful for amazing people. So
yes, sir. And I think that's just remarkable. And it also speaks to what you were saying earlier, just, being able to keep your eye open for new talent and for people that can really provide value and add value to your mission and what it is that you guys are doing. And like you said, you're building that team to really change the world. But, so how would you define success as an entrepreneur?
To me, success is the impact that you make in lives. I believe fully that money is just a measurement of the impact that you're having in people's lives. The more money you're making, the more people that you're serving and the more people that you're impacting. And so true impact to me is the number of divorces that we alter. True impact to me is the number of people that we go from a stress level of 10 to a stress level of 3. And I believe that if you create a lot of value and you help a lot of people get what they want, the money will chase you down and you will not be able to stop it from coming in. And honestly, I've never worked for money. I've worked for success. I've worked for results in other people's lives. And like I said, the byproduct is financial success for you and blessings for others.
What would you say is the most important reason for your success?
Well, the most important reason for my success is there's no question that this world needs a change when it comes to finances. A real big change. And I believe God has had his hand on this company because he sees the pain and the hurt in the lives of people across this country and across the world. And we have the system, Wesley. We have the heart, we have the mission, we have the system, the technology to create the change that I believe will be a catalyst to change the financial trajectory of our world. And I really mean that. We actually listened to the managing director of one of the top 25 banks in the world, managing director of fraud, okay? And he said that 5% of the world revenue is a result of fraud, 5%. And he said that if there's not a change in the way we bank, fraud is going to take us down. And he said in the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to have to change from an open bank world where if someone has your account number and routing number, they can just come in and take your money, your insurance companies, all your subscriptions, right? Or your card number. He said it's going to go from that to a closed banking system where in real time, the user will authorize anything that comes out of your account. That's what we do. That's what we do. It's real time. No one can use my card unless that Qube is open, and I have to open my app and it has to see my face recognition to open, right? And anyways, we demoed that to a group at this bank, and they were like, "This is it. This is it." And it gave me chills when they said that, So anyways, higher security, protection to the customer, control, like returning the control of spending back to the user, that has to exist in our world. And we make it in such a way that it's easy and it's fast. We make it so that financial health can become a seamless part of your life. Not this thing that's like, I have to create this spreadsheet and I have to track this spreadsheet, but something that right on the go, you can do in real time, and it takes seconds. And so anyways, that's we have to be successful, Wesley. There's
Yeah.
no other option. This will succeed. It's got to, for my
Yes, sir.
kids. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And I just think that the innovation that you guys are bringing to the financial industry, has no choice but to play a big part and a big role in the success of the company and everything that you guys are doing. It's like you mentioned, you're 5 years ahead of the curve, 5 to 7 years ahead of the curve. So, Qube Money is doing some great things.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. So, how would you like for people to remember you and your company?
I want them to remember us by the company that just did what was right. We didn't use sales tactics. We didn't use, you know what I mean? We did what we said we'd do. And we were just straightforward. People can read through all that junk, all the high pressure sales, stuff like that. Just provide a good service that can change people's lives. And, yeah, we're going to charge because we got to make money if we're going to make more impact. You know what I mean? You have to, the more companies make money some way. They're either going to sell your personal data to somebody else to make money because they're not charging anything, or you can pay a company something to provide a great service and have the privacy and protection that you really want. And so that's Qube Money. Everyone's important. Everyone's unique and awesome. Everyone deserves freedom, financial freedom, and financial freedom can be had by everyone. There's abundance. It's just a matter of learning how to utilize those resources that you have. And we want to teach people how to utilize those resources.
What does the future of Qube Money look like to you?
The future of Qube Money looks like 3 million households breaking, like eliminating debt forever and creating generational wealth. Can you imagine 3 million more households where couples and individuals are living with intention with their finances because they can now, and creating generational wealth that's going to impact their children and their children and their children because they learn a system that's been proven over centuries. Cash envelopes is centuries old. Our parents and grandparents used it, and having a digital way of doing it in today's world. So that's what I see. I see it blessing, like, seriously, 3 million households in the United States, and then we'll see what happens across the world. So.
Yes, sir. That's incredible. Shane, thank you so much for your time today. And your energy is really infectious, and hearing your belief and the belief that you have in your company, and that knowing that you could change the world is really motivating. And it makes me want to stand behind the company even more. But before I let you go, at the end of every podcast, we like to play a rapid fire question game where I ask you 3 questions. So if you're willing to play, I'll go ahead and ask.
Happy to.
Yes, sir. So question number 1, where's your favorite place to travel?
Europe.
Oh, Europe. Why Europe?
There's so much culture there. And actually, I've only been to 3 countries over there, but it was just incredible. And I want to take my wife back. If it wasn't for COVID, we would have went to Croatia this year. But anyways, yeah, that's why.
That's awesome. Question number 2, what song represents your life the most?
Man, I'm not good with songs. I'm trying to think of this song. It's about being grateful, and it's by David Archuleta. And I can't remember the name, the exact name, but he was America's Got Talent. He was one of the winners or second runner-up. Man, awesome, about gratitude, and it's a beautiful song.
Nice. And the final question, what's an amazing thing that you did that no one was around to see?
I think the most important thing that I do is one, every morning I get up and I spend a half hour with the Lord, and I talk to him and I tell him how much I love him and how thankful I am for him and all that he's done for my life. And that sets the pace for how I treat my wife. I love her with all my heart. I'm not perfect, but I love her and my children, that people don't see when you're inside your home. And I'm not perfect and I make mistakes, but man, I love these kids. I've got 8 beautiful kids, 5 boys, 3 girls,
Wow.
and they're incredible children. You know what I mean? And so yeah, what we do within our own home, like that's what I'm most thankful for, most proud of. So yeah.
That's awesome. Shane, thank you so much. I appreciate your time today. And this is been very enlightening for me. So I appreciate it.
Wesley, thanks so much for having me on. Like, this has been a lot of fun. You have a lot of interviews, but this has been special. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.